So this week we've started on a new path, and if you didn't listen to the Great Quotes for Coaches podcast episode on Monday, let me clue you in a little bit about what's going on. Last week our theme was on reading the signs. And what I had said during those episodes and the blog post was that I'd been reading a book that for the prior couple weeks, and it I just kept noticing things that were speaking to me, and I kept thinking, "Is this a sign?" And eventually, I was saying, "This is a sign," and because I've had a project that I've been thinking I need to do for the last 4, 6 months, something like that. It really hit me. Actually, it hit me a while even before that, but I really started thinking about it. And I keep putting it off. I have a lot going on and a lot of different things that I'm trying to do and to build and to get going or whatever it might be. So I was like, I don't know, but this thing kept gnawing at me. And I even wrote up a plan for it, but I wasn't I don't know if 100% committed is the right way to put it, but that's how I'm going to say it. And then I was reading this book, and this book was saying things to me that I think that seemed like they were speaking right to me. And so last week I was talking about that concept of, do you read the signs? You need to read the signs that are being put in front of you. And then I said that this week I would focus on that book and the concepts in the book that were getting me to feel this way. Well, I've changed my course of action a little bit. I'm going to focus on this book, but I'm going to do it over the course of multiple episodes, multiple weeks. In fact, it's going to be 10 weeks. At least I think it is. There's 9 chapters in the book. I think I need to take a chapter a week. And the reason is, so the day that I recorded the podcast episode, I was typing up all the notes, all of the highlights, because I do it in my iPad, and I highlight. And so just all the different quotes was the main thing for the Great Quotes for Coaches podcast, but also all the other concepts in there from the author and all these highlights. And I was typing them up, and I realized as I was typing them up, I said in the podcast episode, I had so many quotes that I went through, and that was just from one chapter. And it had taken me an hour. And I said in the podcast episode, and that was 3 chapters worth. And then I went back and looked, and it was only 2 chapters worth. And it's like, there's a lot here that I want to talk about. And so I said in the podcast episode, many of you probably had guessed last week that the author of the book, because I said it's somebody who I've talked about a lot before, is John Maxwell. And the book is, there it is. Does it show? Yeah, it's called Change Your World. And it's on my iPad. So that's one of the reasons, that like I said, I did the highlighting, using my finger and all that. But this is John Maxwell and Rob Hoskins. They collaborated on this book. Rob Hoskins is the founder, director of One Hope. Sounds like a great organization. And then, of course, John Maxwell, everything I've talked about with you about John Maxwell before. And I did a whole 6-month series on my podcast of John Maxwell quotes. So what I'm finding in this book, this Change Your World, I finished it. I finished it this past weekend, and it is so good, and it is going to change my world. I really believe that, because I kept on reading these signs and finding things in it that were saying, you have to do this, you have to do this. So So what I'm going to do is each week we're going to focus on a chapter. Well, the first chapter in the book is called We Can't Wait for Change. And I'm going to look at my notes that I had typed up. I've got them on my computer screen. And I'm just going to read a couple of things as I go through here as I talk about this, because each week we're going to see what this concept is of how can you change your world. But as I said in the podcast episode, how can this also apply to you as the leader of teams or in your family or with your kids, leader of sports teams or leader of work teams, wherever it might be. And so I don't know how many quotes it was that I said in the podcast. I've picked out just a few of those that I want to touch on, and I don't want this to go too long today, but like I said, the depth to which the ideas in here have hit me, and that I want to eventually, 10 weeks from now, tell you about this project. Hopefully by then, if I do what you're going to hear Maxwell and Hoskins have been kind of leading me to, 10 weeks from now, I should have this project on its way. We will see. But I sure hope that, and it's not only about hope, although that was a big part of this first chapter too. We can't wait for change. Maxwell said, most of us are waiting for somebody else to do something about the problems we see. This is right in line with what I've been dealing with. We want change, but we hope that someone, somewhere, will do something to bring it about. Transformation is possible. So that was the first quote. Transformation is possible for anyone willing to learn and live good values, value people, and collaborate with others to create a positive values culture. So I love that concept. It talked about a variety of things. It had a variety of key things in it, but transformation, big word, okay? Important word. Are we truly going to transform ourselves? Good values. It's a huge part of us in any kind of leadership role. Valuing people. All right, a big part of being a good leader. And then collaborating with others. I mean, that's all what teams are all about, to create a positive values culture. Positive values and culture. 3 really key words that we will be zeroing in on throughout. Well, we always have zeroed in on those. We'll be zeroing in on them more as we go through these 10 weeks. Gandhi, he quoted Gandhi, in a gentle way you can shake the world, but then the one I really want to focus on, for things to change, first I must change. I love this concept. We all want the changes to go on, but it starts with me. And this is where I started, well, the one quote a little bit ago, but then this, I started going, that's kind of speaking to me about what I'm dealing with, what I'm looking at doing, the project that I'm working on and that I'm thinking about doing. Next one. This is where then it really started to take hold with me, where I started to think, he's talking to me. This is exactly what I need to hear. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you have or haven't done yet. It's never too late to do something to change your world. I'm 62 years old. There's part of me that's been thinking, come on, Scott, what are you going to do? You don't need to tackle this whole thing that you want to do. And this, I mean, come on, you really are you? And it's like, no, I do want to do this. Absolutely. It's kind of burning inside me that I really think it's something that could not only change my world, but change the world. I mean, that's how powerful this thing has been, and it's been gnawing at me for a while. And that line really hit me. And then he quoted a Turkish proverb, no matter how far you have gone on a wrong road, turn back. Now, I don't know that I've been going down a wrong road, but with regards to the project, I just haven't been going down any road other than a little path so far. And it's like, it's time to get going. But this is what I wanted to focus on for the final, because he then added to that, you can turn in a new direction right now and do something to change your world. And that's exactly what I needed to hear. Chapter 2 is called Become a Catalyst for Change. That's going to start to speak to that concept of what can I do individually? What can you do as an individual to create some kind of change? And it was in chapter 3 So in a couple weeks, where you'll be hearing about that, where I was absolutely blown away by, oh my gosh, this is talking specifically to me. And I don't want to give too much away, but he talked about somebody else doing some amazing things, and it's like, well, that's the concept. That's, I mean, there were so many things that happened in that segment, in that chapter, that then I just started doing on my own. I was like, okay, I got to do this. And so here we go. We are headed into the concept of changing our world, changing your world. And so I'm really looking forward to this. Friday, I'll have a blog post about it. And then next week, we're going to jump to the next concept of becoming a catalyst for change. Hopefully, John Maxwell, if you end up seeing this, hopefully you're okay that I'm doing this. But I cannot stress enough to everybody, get this book, Change Your World. It is so, so good. And it will. I really believe it will change your world. And it'll have the capacity, the capability to change the world. All right. Come back next week and we'll start talking about becoming a catalyst for change. We'll talk to you then.